Prophet Ibrahim. Quranic name, Ibrahim. Biblical name, Abraham. Year of birth, 1813 BC 2510 BH. Place of birth, Ur of the Chaldees, southern Mesopotamia. Father's name, Azar. Quranic information. Spouses, Sarah, Hajjar, Hagar or Hara, Keturah. Children, Ismail, Ishaq. Prophets, Quranic information, and others. Nephew, Lut prophet. Place of death, Hebron. Year of death, 1644 BC 2335 BH. Age, 169 years. Buried, Cave of the Patriarchs, Hebron. Contents, Introduction. Attributes of Prophet Ibrahim. Oh, he was tender-hearted. Oh, he was a true believer in Allah. Oh, he was a thankful and righteous prophet. Oh, he believed in Allah with all his attributes. Oh, he was a blessed prophet. Oh, he was Allah's friend. O Allah paid salutation to Prophet Ibrahim. O descendants of Prophet Ibrahim were also blessed. O Prophet Ibrahim's religion. O he was not a Jew or a Christian. O he was a true Muslim, the birth of a great prophet. In search of the truth. Self-arguments. Prophet Ibrahim asked Allah how the dead are raised to life. Prophet Ibrahim invites his father to Islam. Asking Allah for forgiveness of his father. Dissociated from his father. Preaching to people, arguing with people. Prophet Ibrahim's plan to break idols. Conspiracy to burn Prophet Ibrahim, thrown into the fire. The miracle, Allah saved Ibrahim from fire. Prophet Ibrahim debates with the Babylonian king, Namrud. Marriages of Prophet Ibrahim. Prophet Ibrahim plans to move away from his people, and tells his father. Moved away from his people to a faraway location. After Prophet Ibrahim left his home, Allah gave good news of the birth of a son and grandson. Angels giving news of punishment to Qawm Lut. Second marriage of Prophet Ibrahim, and the birth of his first son, Ismail. Prayer of Prophet Ibrahim for a child. Allah tested Ibrahim for his sincerity. O young Ismail and his mother were left alone in the desert of Makkah. O struggle of Hajjar between Safa and Marwa. O Zamzam. Inhabiting the city of Makkah. Another test, sacrifice of his son, Ismail. Raised the walls of Kaaba. The legacy of Prophet Ibrahim. Prayers of Prophet Ibrahim. Angels giving good news of another son, Ishaq, and grandson, Yaqub. Prophet Ibrahim was given a scripture like the scripture of Prophet Musa. Conclusion. Introduction. Prophet Ibrahim was a messenger of Allah. He enjoys a prominent position as an example of faith in Judaism, Christianity, and in Islam. He is considered the father of the prophets because many eminent prophets who came after him descended from his progeny. Prophet Ibrahim fulfilled all the commandments and trials wherein Allah cherished him throughout his lifetime. He was among those who followed the way of Prophet Noah. 37:83. 37:83. Indeed, among those who followed his Prophet Nuh's way was Ibrahim. Allah made him his friend, as mentioned in verse 4, 125 of the Holy Quran, to be quoted later. Attributes of Prophet Ibrahim. Allah has praised Prophet Ibrahim in large number of verses of Quran describing various aspects of his belief as a true believer of Allah, so much so that even in some verses of Quran Allah has told Prophet Muhammad PBUH to follow the deen, way of life, or religion, of Prophet Ibrahim. 2. 135. 2. 135 They, Jews and Christians, say, be Jews or Christians, you shall then be rightly guided. O Muhammad, say, but we follow the faith of Ibrahim, the upright one. 6. 161. 6. 161 O Muhammad, PBUH, tell them, your men, as for me, surely my Rabb has guided me to the right way, the ever-true deen, the faith of Ibrahim, the upright. 16. 123. 16. 123 And now we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, PBUH, our will saying, follow the faith of Ibrahim, the upright. Other believers also have been asked to follow the faith of Prophet Ibrahim. 395. 395 Say, O Muhammad, PBUH, to your men, Allah has declared the truth. If you are sincere, then, follow the faith of Ibrahim, the upright. 4. 125. 4. 125 Who has a better deen than the one who is a Muslim, submits himself entirely to Allah, does good to others and follows the faith of Ibrahim, the upright one. 64. 64 Allah said to the believing men of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, you have an excellent example in Ibrahim and his companions. Prophet Ibrahim's multifarious attributes have been described by Allah in Quran as under. He was tender-hearted. 9. 114. 9. 114 The fact is that Ibrahim was tender-hearted, forbearing. 1175. 1175. Indeed, Ibrahim was forbearing, tender-hearted and turning to Allah again and again. He was a true believer in Allah. 675. 675. And likewise, we showed Ibrahim the kingdom of the heavens and the earth so that he should become one of the firm believers. 16. 120. 16. 120. In fact, Ibrahim was a nation in himself, obedient to Allah, true in faith. 37. 111. 37. 111. Surely, he, Ibrahim, was one of our believing devotees. He was a thankful and righteous prophet. 16. 121. 16. 121. He, Ibrahim, was always grateful for the favors of Allah. I chose him and guided him to a right way. 16. 122. 16. 122. And we gave him a good life in this world, and in the hereafter he will be among the righteous. 1941. 1941. Relate to them the story of Ibrahim from the book, the Quran. He was a truthful prophet. 53:37. 53:37. And of Ibrahim who always kept his word. He believed in Allah with all his attributes. 26:78. 26:78. Ibrahim told his men, He, Allah, is the one who created me, then he gave me guidance. 26:79. 26:79. He is the one who gives me food and drink. 26:80. 26:80. Who gives me health when I get sick. 26:81. 26:81. Who will cause me to die and then bring me back to life. 26:82. 26:82. Who, I hope, will forgive me all my mistakes on the day of judgment. He was a blessed prophet. 12:6. 12:6. Prophet Yaqub told his son, Prophet Yusuf. And he, Allah, will perfect his blessings upon you and the house of Yaqub, as he perfected it before upon your forefathers Ibrahim and Isaac. 21:51. 21:51. Even before that we blessed Ibrahim with wisdom, for we knew him well. He was Allah's friend. 4:125. 4:125. Who has a better deen than the one who is a Muslim, submits himself entirely to Allah, does good to others and follows the faith of Ibrahim, the upright one, and whom Allah chose to be his friend. Allah paid salutation to Prophet Ibrahim. 37:109. 37:109. Salutation to Ibrahim. Descendants of Prophet Ibrahim were also blessed. 4:54. 4:54. Or, do they envy other people because Allah has given them from his grace? If so, let them know that we did give the book and wisdom to the descendants of Ibrahim, and blessed them with a great kingdom. 57:26. 57:26. We sent Noah and Ibrahim and bestowed among their descendants prophethood and the book. Prophet Ibrahim's religion, he was not a Jew or a Christian. 3:65. 3:65. O people of the book! Why do you argue about Ibrahim, as to whether he was a Jew or a Christian? You should know that the Torah, and the Injil Gospel, were revealed long after him. Have you no sense at all? 76:3. 3:67. Ibrahim was neither a Jew nor a Christian, but he was a Muslim, true in faith. He was a true Muslim. 2:130. 2:130. Who but a foolish man would renounce the faith of Ibrahim? We chose him in this worldly life, while in the hereafter he will be among the righteous. 2:131. 2:131. When his Rab asked him, Be a Muslim, he answered, I have become a Muslim to the Rab of the worlds. 2:132. 2:132. This was the legacy that Ibrahim left to his sons, and so did Yaqub, when he said, O my sons! Allah has chosen for you this deen, way of life, therefore, die not unless you are Muslims. The birth of a great prophet. Prophet Ibrahim was born in a house of idolaters, in the ancient city of Ur of the Chaldees, in the kingdom of Babylon, likely the place called Ur, in the present-day Iraq. The people there used to practice the ancient Mesopotamian religion and used to worship idols. His father, named Azar, was a well-known idol sculptor that his people worshipped. As a young child, Ibrahim used to watch his father sculpting these idols from stones or wood. When his father was done with them, Ibrahim would use them as toys, riding on their backs, and kicking them at times. Then after a while, he would see these same statues in the temple, and people prostrating in front of them. Ibrahim asked his father why he was taking those toys to the temple. His father told that these were the statues that represent their gods. People worship them, ask favors from them, and offer them presents. Ibrahim's mind rejected this idea, and he felt repulsion towards the idols. In search of the truth. Time went by and Ibrahim became a young man. He still could not believe that his people were worshipping the statues. He laughed whenever he saw them entering the temple, lowering their heads, silently offering the statues the best of their food, crying and asking forgiveness from them. He started feeling angry towards his people who could not realize that these were only stones that could neither benefit nor harm anyone. They could not be gods and they had no power. He said, Allah is greater than what his people were worshipping, most powerful, most magnificent. One could not find him sitting on a table in a temple. Self-arguments. One night Prophet Ibrahim was in deep thinking and self-arguing about his creator, Allah. He saw a shining star and thought, could that be my Rabb? But when it set, he said, I don't like the one that sets. The star has disappeared, it could not be Allah. Allah is always present. Then he saw the moon rising and shining, and he thought, could that be my Rabb? But it also set. At daybreak, he saw the sun rising with splendor, and thought, could this be my Rabb? This is bigger. But when the sun set, he said, O my people, I am free from all that you join as partners with Allah. I have turned my face towards him who created the heavens and the earth, and never shall I give partners to Allah. Our Lord is the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything. He has the power to make the stars rise and set. 676. 676. When the night covered him over, he saw a star and said, this is my Rabb. But when it set, he said, I do not love to worship such a God that fades away. 677. 677. When he saw the moon shining, he said, this is my Rabb. But when it also set, he said, if my Rabb does not guide me, I shall certainly become one of those who go astray. 678. 678. When he saw the sun with its brighter shine, he said, this must be my Rabb. It is bigger. But when it also set, he exclaimed, O my people, I am done with your shirk, associating partners with Allah. 683. 683. This was the argument which we furnished Ibrahim against his people. We exalt in ranks whom we please. Surely your Rabb is wise, aware. Prophet Ibrahim asked Allah how the dead are raised to life. During his self-arguing process and in order to reassure his heart, Prophet Ibrahim asked Allah to show him how the dead are raised to life. This story is described in Quran in the following verse. 260. 260. And when Ibrahim said, my Rabb, show me how you give life to the dead. He replied, have you no faith in this? Ibrahim submitted, yes. But I ask this to reassure my heart. Allah said, take 4 birds. Train them to follow your direction, cut their bodies into pieces and scatter those pieces on hilltops, then call them back. They will come back to you right away. You should know that Allah is all-powerful and wise. Prophet Ibrahim invites his father to Islam. A new life started for Ibrahim. His mission then was to call his people to the truth. He started his teachings with his father who was the closest person to him, and whom he loved so much. He said to his father in the softest and kindest voice why he was worshipping that which could not hear, could not see, and could not give anything. His father said that he had the knowledge which he, his father, did not have. He requested his father to follow him and he would guide him to a straight path. His father rejected his offer and replied angrily saying that if he did not stop, he would stone him. He ordered Ibrahim to get away from him before he takes steps to punish him. 674. 674. And when Ibrahim said to his father, Azar, are you taking idols for gods? Surely, I see you and your people in manifest error. 1942. 1942. When he, Ibrahim, said to his father, O my father, why do you worship something that can neither hear nor see, nor yet profit you in any way? 1943. 1943. O my father, I have been given some knowledge which has not come to you, so follow me, I will guide you to the right way. 1944. 1944. O my father, do not worship Shaitan, for Shaitan is disobedient to the compassionate Allah. 1945. 1945. O my father, I fear that a punishment of the beneficent Allah may afflict you, and you may become a friend of the Shaitan. 1946. 1946. His father replied, how dare you renounce my gods, O Ibrahim? If you do not stop it, I will indeed stone you, so go away this very moment. 3785. 3785. When he, Ibrahim, said to his father and to his people, what are these that you worship? 3786. 3786. Would you serve false gods instead of Allah? 3787. 3787. What is your idea about the Rabb of the worlds? asking Allah for forgiveness of his father. Prophet Ibrahim loved his father very much. In spite of his refusal to accept the truth and follow the orders of Allah, Prophet Ibrahim still was kind to his father and he prayed to Allah for the forgiveness of his father. 114. 114. Ibrahim prayed for his father's forgiveness only to fulfill a promise he had made to him. 1441. 1441. Prophet Ibrahim prayed to Allah, our Rabb, forgive me and my parents and all believers on the day when the accountability will take place. 1947. 1947. Ibrahim said to his father, peace be upon you, I will pray to my Rabb for your forgiveness. Surely, he is ever kind to me. 2686. 2686. Ibrahim prayed to Allah, forgive my father, for he is from among those who have gone astray. 64. 64. Ibrahim said to his father, I will pray for your forgiveness, although I have no power to get anything for you from Allah. Dissociated from his father. After being completely disappointed from his father, Prophet Ibrahim told his father that he could not stay with him and he left his father. 114. 114. Ibrahim prayed for his father's forgiveness only to fulfill a promise he had made to him. But when it became clear to him that he was an enemy of Allah, he disassociated himself from him. Preaching to people, arguing with people. Then Prophet Ibrahim directed his efforts towards the people of the town, and he extended his preaching to his people. 680. 680. When his people started arguing with him, he told them, will you argue with me about Allah, whereas he himself has guided me? I do not fear those whom you take for gods, unless my Rabb so wills. The knowledge of my Rabb encompasses everything. So, why don't you get admonition? 681. 681. Why should I fear your idols, when you are not afraid of your actions of making them partners with Allah, for which he has not given you any sanction? Which one from the two parties of us deserves to feel secure? Tell me, if you know, the truth. 2152. 2152. Remember that occasion, when Ibrahim asked his father and his people, what are these images to which you are so devoted? 2153. 2153. They replied, we found our forefathers worshipping them. 2154. 2154. He said, then certainly both you and your forefathers have been in manifest error. 2155. 2155. They asked, have you brought us the truth, or are you one of the jesters? 2156. 2156. He replied, nay. Your Rabb is the Lord of the heavens and the earth. It is he who has created them. And I am of those who bear witness to this. 2669. 2669. Narrate to them the story of Ibrahim. 2670. 2670. When he asked his father and his people, what is that which you worship? 2671. 2671. They replied, we worship idols and we sit beside them with all devotion. 2672. 2672. Ibrahim asked, do they hear you when you call on them? 2673. 2673. Or, can they help you or harm you? 2674. 2674. They replied, but we found our forefathers doing so. 2675. 2675. Ibrahim said, have you ever seen with open eyes these which you have been worshipping? 2676. 2676. You and your fathers before you. 2677. 2677. They are all enemies to me, except the Rabb of the worlds. 2916. 2916. Likewise Ibrahim, when he said to his people, worship Allah and fear him, this is better for you if you understand. 2917. 2917. You worship idols besides Allah and fabricate falsehood. In fact, those whom you worship besides Allah have no power to give you your sustenance, therefore seek your sustenance from Allah, and worship him. Give thanks to him, for to him you shall be returned. 2918. 2918. If you deny the message, then nations have denied before you. The only duty a Rasul has is to deliver Allah's message clearly. 4326. 4326. And when Ibrahim said to his father and his people, I renounce the gods you worship. 4327. 4327. Accept him who created me, for he will surely guide me. Prophet Ibrahim's plan to break idols. On one occasion, Prophet Ibrahim made a plan to destroy the idols to teach his people a lesson that their gods were so helpless that they could not even defend themselves if somebody attacked them. 2157. 2157 By Allah, I will certainly plan against your idols when you turn and go away. He knew that a big celebration was coming soon when everybody would leave the town for a big feast on the riverbank. He selected that occasion to break the idols. When everybody was leaving for the feast, Prophet Ibrahim made an excuse to be tired and did not go with them. 37:88. 37:88 Then he looked at the stars one time. 37:89. And said, I am feeling tired. 37:89. 37:90. 37:90 So his people left him behind and went away to their national fair. After making sure that nobody was left in the town, Prophet Ibrahim went towards the temple, armed with an axe. Statues of all shapes and sizes were sitting there adorned with decorations. Plates of food were offered to them, but the food was untouched. Prophet Ibrahim asked the statues why they were not eating the food as the food was getting cold. Then with his axe he destroyed all the statues except the biggest of them. He hung the axe around its neck and left. 2158. 2158 So he broke them all in pieces, except the biggest of them, so that they might turn to it. 37:91. 37:91 Thereupon he, Ibrahim, approached their gods and addressed them, Why don't you eat from these offerings before you? 37:92. 37:92 What is the matter with you that you don't even speak? 37:93. 37:93 Then he attacked them, striking them with his right hand. How big was the shock when the people after return from the feast entered the temple. They gathered inside watching and all their gods broken in pieces. They wondered who might have done that. Then they all remembered that the young Ibrahim was talking evil of their idols. They brought him to the temple and asked him if he was the one who had done that to their gods. Prophet Ibrahim said that it could be the work of the big statue. He proposed to them to ask him if he could speak. They said that he, Ibrahim, knew very well that the statues don't speak. Then Prophet Ibrahim had a point to make them realize why do they worship things that can neither speak nor see, nor even fend for themselves. He asked his men whether they had any sense to realize it. They kept silent for a while, for he got a point there. Their minds and their senses were telling them that the truth is with Ibrahim, but their pride prevented them to accept it and reject the idols they were worshipping for generations. This they thought would be total defeat. They started yelling at him and shouting to burn him to take the revenge of their gods. 2159. 2159 On their return when they saw the plight of their idols, they asked, Who has done this to our gods? He must surely be a wicked person. 2160. Others replied, We heard a youth called Ibrahim talking, 2160, about them. 2161. 2161, they said, Then bring him here before the eyes of the people, so that they may witness. 2162. 2162 When Ibrahim came, they asked, O Ibrahim, are you the one who has done this to our gods? 2163. 2163 He replied, Surely, the chief of them must have done it. Ask them, if they can speak. 2164. 2164 Thereupon they turned to search their own consciences, and said to themselves, Surely you yourselves are the wrongdoers. 2165. 2165 Confounded as they were, then, lowering their heads they said, You know fully well that they cannot speak. 2166. 2166 At this Ibrahim said, Do you then worship these deities, instead of Allah, who can neither benefit nor harm you? 2167. 2167 Shame on you and on those deities you worship besides Allah. Have you no sense at all? 3794. 3794 The people came running to the scene. 3795. 3795 Ibrahim said, Would you worship that which you have carved with your own hands? 3796. 3796 And Allah is the one who created you and that which you have made. Conspiracy to burn Prophet Ibrahim thrown into the fire. The incident of breaking the idols was taken seriously and the priests decided to eliminate Ibrahim. They decided to burn him to death. It was affirmed by the king of Babylon, Namrud. The news spread like a fire in the kingdom, and people started coming from all places to watch the execution. A huge pit was dug up and a large quantity of wood was piled up. Then the biggest fire which people ever witnessed was lit. Prophet Ibrahim's hands and feet were chained, and he was put in a catapult to throw him into the fire. 2168. 2168 They cried, Burn him alive and avenge your gods, if you want to take any action. 2924. 29:24, they had no answer except to say, kill him. Or, burn him. 37:97. 37:97, they said to one another, prepare for him a blazing fire and throw him into this fire. The miracle. Allah saved Ibrahim from fire. The catapult was released, and Ibrahim was thrown in the heart of the fire. But Allah would not allow his prophet to be burnt like that. He ordered the fire to become cool and safe for Ibrahim. And the miracle happened. The fire obeyed the order of Allah, and Prophet Ibrahim came out from fire as if he was coming out from a garden, peacefully. His face was illuminated, and not a trace of smoke on his clothes. People watched in shock and in amazement and said that Ibrahim's God has saved him from the fire. 21:69. 21:69, when they threw him in the fire, we commanded, O fire, be cool and comfortable for Ibrahim. 21:70. 21:70, they sought to harm him, but we made them the big losers. 29:24. 29:24. But Allah saved him from the fire, when they tried to burn him. Surely, in this incident there are signs for those who believe. 37:98. 37:98, thus did they make scheme against him, but we humiliated them in their scheme. Prophet Ibrahim debates with the Babylonian king, Namrud. Prophet Ibrahim's reputation grew bigger after this event, and the king of Babylon, who was pretending that he was a god, felt that his throne was in danger, and that he was losing power. He sent for Ibrahim. He wanted to debate with him and show his people that he, the king, was indeed the god, and Ibrahim was a liar. He asked Ibrahim what his Allah could do that he could not. Prophet Ibrahim said, My Lord is he who gives life and death. In reply, the king said proudly, I give life and death. I can bring a person from the street and have him executed, and I can grant my pardon to a person who has been sentenced to death, and save his life. Then Ibrahim argued by saying that Ibrahim's Lord, Allah, makes the sun rise from the east. Could you make it rise from the west? The king was confounded. He was beaten at his own game, on his own territory, in front of his own people. Prophet Ibrahim left him there speechless. 258. 258, have you ever reflected upon the one, Namrud, to whom Allah had given kingdom, who argued with Ibrahim about his Rab? When Ibrahim said, My Rab is he who has power to give life and to cause death. He replied, I too have the power to give life and to cause death. Ibrahim said, Allah causes the sun to rise from the east. Just make it rise from the west. Thus the unbeliever was confounded. Allah does not guide the evildoers. Marriages of Prophet Ibrahim. The marriages of Prophet Ibrahim have not been described in Quran. In order to complete the link of various events described in Quran, this part of the story is taken from other sources. By that time, there were not many people who accepted the message of Prophet Ibrahim. Among those who followed Prophet Ibrahim included one woman named Sarah, and Prophet Ibrahim married her. Their hope was to have children who would spread the message of Allah after their death. However, Prophet Ibrahim and Sarah did not have any child until their old age. As will be described later in some detail, Sarah, after being disappointed to have a child, suggested Prophet Ibrahim to marry her servant, Hajjar, Hagar or Hara, for the child. Prophet Ibrahim married her, as suggested. Prophet Ibrahim and Hajjar had a child called Ismail. After that, Allah also blessed Sarah, the first wife of Prophet Ibrahim, with a child at much older age when there appeared no chance to have a child. This birth of a child in their old age was an occasion worth mentioning, which Allah mentioned in Quran. This story will be described in later part of this chapter. Prophet Ibrahim plans to move away from his people, and tells his father. As it happened to many other prophets when their people rejected their call, the people of Ibrahim also rejected him, and except a few, majority of people did not follow him. Prophet Ibrahim realized that nobody else would listen to him. So, with the will of Allah, he decided to emigrate from there, and to spread Allah's message elsewhere. Before leaving, Prophet Ibrahim tried once again to convert his father to Islam, but to no avail. He told his father that he was going away from him. 1948. 1948, Ibrahim said to his father, I am leaving you and those whom you invoke besides Allah. I will call upon my Rab, and I am sure my prayers to my Rab will not be ignored. 37:99. 37:99, Ibrahim said, I am going to my Rab, he will surely guide me. Moved away from his people to a faraway location. Prophet Ibrahim with his wife, Sarah, and his nephew, Prophet Lot, started their long journey. They crossed Babylon, went through Syria and reached Canaan in the Palestine, calling people to Allah, helping the poor and doing good deeds. As for Prophet Lot, he emigrated to the fertile land of Sodom, in the southern region of Canaan, and settled there. 21:71. 21:71, we delivered him, Ibrahim, and his nephew, Lot, and directed them to the land which we have blessed for all the people of the world. 29:26. 29:26, Lot affirmed his belief with Ibrahim. Finally, he, Ibrahim, said, I will migrate towards my Rabb, go where my Rabb has ordered me. Indeed, he is the mighty, the wise. After Prophet Ibrahim left his home, Allah gave good news of the birth of a son and grandson. 1949. 1949, so when he left them and the deities whom they worshipped besides Allah, we granted him descendants like Ishaq, son, and Yaqub, grandson, and we made each of them a prophet. Angels giving news of punishment to Qaum Lot. Prophet Ibrahim and his nephew, Prophet Lot, were living in different cities. The story of people of Lot has been described in a separate chapter on Prophet Lot. However, the messengers of Allah, angels, before going to the people of Prophet Lot to punish them, came to Prophet Ibrahim. This conversation is described here. 11:69. 11:69, our messengers, angels, came to Ibrahim with good news, the birth of a son in his old age. They said, Peace be upon you. He answered, Peace be upon you too, and hastened to entertain them with a roasted calf. 11:70. 11:70, but when he saw their hands were not extended towards it, he felt uneasy with them and started to be afraid of them. They said, Do not fear. We have been sent to the people of Lot. 11:74. 11:74, when the fear of Ibrahim was gone and the good news, the birth of a son in his old age, came to him, he began to plead with us for the people of Lot. 11:76. 11:76, the angels said, O Ibrahim, leave this topic. The decree of your Rabb has already been issued. Now there must come to them a punishment that cannot be averted. 15:57. 15:57, then he, Ibrahim, asked, On what expedition you have been sent, O emissaries of Allah? 15:58. 15:58, they replied, We have been sent to punish a criminal nation. 15:59. 15:59, with the exception of Lot's family. We will certainly rescue them all. 15:60. 15:60, except his wife, who has been destined to remain with those who will stay behind. 29:31. 29:31, when our messengers, angels, came to Ibrahim with the good news, the birth of a son in his old age, they said, We are to destroy the people of that township, for its people are indeed wrongdoers. 29:32. 29:32, Ibrahim said, But Lot is in there. The angels replied, We know who is in there. We shall certainly save him and his family, except his wife, who will remain behind. Second marriage of Prophet Ibrahim, and the birth of his first son, Ismail. As mentioned earlier, Sarah was the first wife of Prophet Ibrahim. Time went by and no child was born to Sarah. She realized that she was sterile. She accepted her fate and submitted to the will of Allah. When Prophet Ibrahim and Sarah were on their way for emigration, a king on their way gave Sarah a woman to be her servant. The woman's name was Hajjar, Hagar or Hara. Sarah knew that her husband was longing for a child and his hair were getting white. She also knew that she was getting old and may not be able to provide Prophet Ibrahim with a child. She suggested to Prophet Ibrahim that he should marry her servant Hajjar, and maybe Allah would bless them with a child through her. Prophet Ibrahim accepted the advice of his beloved wife, Sarah, and married Hajjar. Prayer of Prophet Ibrahim for a child. Many years passed and even with this second marriage no child was born. Prophet Ibrahim prayed to Allah for a child as Allah has mentioned Ibrahim's prayer in Quran 37:100. 37:100, O my Lord, grant me a righteous son. 37:101. 37:101, so we gave him the good news of a gentle son. It wasn't long before Prophet Ibrahim and Hajjar were blessed with a baby boy whom they named Ismail. Prophet Ibrahim was overjoyed with happiness at the birth of his first son. They celebrated and thanked Allah for such a great and beautiful blessing. Some scholars say that Prophet Ibrahim was 86 years old at the time of the birth of his first son, Ismail. Getting a child in this old age, Prophet Ibrahim loved his son, Ismail, very much. However, when his son was still an infant, Allah arranged a trial of his sincerity. Allah tested Ibrahim for his sincerity. In verse 2, 155 of the Holy Quran, Allah has warned that the people will be tested for their steadfastness with fear, famine, with loss of property, life and produce, and gave good news to those who endure with patience. Prophet Ibrahim was no exception, and he was also tested for his sincerity. 124. 124. When Ibrahim was tested by his Rabb with certain commands, he fulfilled them. Young Ismail and his mother were left alone in the desert of Makkah. One day, Ibrahim was ordered by Allah to take his wife, Hajjar, and their infant son, Ismail, to a predefined place quite away from their residence. Prophet Ibrahim asked his wife, Hajjar, to prepare herself and the child Ismail for a long journey. In a few days, Prophet Ibrahim started out a journey with his wife and their son Ismail. Prophet Ibrahim and Hajjar kept traveling, crossed a fertile land followed by barren mountains till they arrived at the Arabian desert and came to an uncultivated valley having no water, no trees and no food. After Ibrahim had helped his wife and child to dismount, he left them with a small amount of food and water, which was hardly enough for a couple of days. He turned around and started walking away. Hajjar asked him, "Did Allah command you to do so?" Ibrahim replied, "Yes." Then his great wife said, "We are not going to be lost, since Allah who has commanded you is with us." How hard this test was for Prophet Ibrahim when he had to leave his beloved wife and the long-desired son in a lonely place, completely unattended, and without food and water. Allah guided Prophet Ibrahim to come to this deserted place because this was the barren place where the city of Makkah is now situated. However, at that time not a single soul was there. This was the place where Prophet Adam built the first house of Allah, and Allah wanted to get that place inhabited and to rebuild Kaaba. At the time of leaving, Prophet Ibrahim prayed to Allah. 1437. 1437, Our Rabb, I have settled some from my offspring in a barren valley near your sacred house. Our Rabb, I have done this in the hope that they would establish Salah. Therefore, turn the hearts of the people toward them and provide them with fruits so that they may be thankful. Struggle of Hajjar between Safa and Marwa. Ismail's mother went on suckling Ismail and drinking from the water she had. When the water in the water skin had been used up, she became thirsty, and Ismail also became thirsty. She started looking at her son, tossing in agony. The child was crying. She left him, for she could not endure looking at him. She found that a hill, later named as Safa, was the nearest to her on that land. She stood on it and started looking at the valley keenly so that she might see somebody to help her, but she could not see anybody. Then she descended from Safa and reached the valley. She then tucked up her robe and ran in the valley like a person in distress and trouble till she crossed the valley and reached another hill, Marwa. There she stood and started looking, expecting to see somebody, but she could not see anybody. She repeated that running between the hills of Safa and Marwa 7 times. This tossing between the two hills by Hajjar was so much liked by Allah that this has been made a tradition of the Sa'a, as one of the rituals of the Hajj pilgrimage. The pilgrims walk between Safa and Marwa 7 times to commemorate this event. 158. 158 Behold, Safa and Marwa, 2 hills now in the sacred mosque, are among the symbols of Allah. So, anyone who performs Hajj or Umrah pilgrimage to the house, there is no blame if one goes around both of them. And anyone who does good voluntarily should know that surely Allah knows the grateful. Zamzam. While Hajjar was running between the 2 hills, the infant Ismail, with the torment of his thirst, scraped the land with his feet. Suddenly water sprang out. There are other versions of this story as well, involving Allah sending his angel, Gabriel, who kicked the ground with his heel, or wing, and the water rose. The name of the well, Zamzam, comes from the phrase zom zom, meaning, stop, stop. When the water was flowing unrestrictedly all around, Hajjar repeated these words during her attempt to contain the spring water. The Zamzam well is located approximately 20 meters, 66 feet, east of the Kaaba, inhabiting the city of Makkah. Hajjar was living in that way when some people from the Arab tribe of Jurhum, or a family from Jurhum, was passing by. They landed quite near to that place where they saw some birds flying. Birds have the habit of flying around water. They sent 1 or 2 of their men to find the source of water. They discovered it and returned to inform them of the water. So, they all came towards the water. Ismail's mother was sitting near the water. They asked her to allow them to stay with her. She said yes, but told them that they will have no right to possess the water. They agreed to that. So they settled there, and later on they sent for their families, who came and settled with them and became permanent residents there. Ismail's mother was pleased with the whole situation. The child, Ismail, grew up with those people. When he grew up and reached the age of puberty, they made him marry a woman from amongst them. Another test, sacrifice of his son, Ismail. Meanwhile, Prophet Ibrahim had not seen his son since he was a baby. Many years later he came back to Makkah to visit him. Upon arriving, he heard that Hajjar had died, but Ismail was still living there. Prophet Ibrahim was eager to see his son whom he loved and missed a lot. He saw Ismail there. When he saw his father, Ismail rose up, hugged him and greeted him. It was the happiest moment for both father and the son. But Allah wanted to put them to test yet once again, and it was a very tough test indeed. During one night, Prophet Ibrahim had a disturbing dream. He came to Ismail and told the dream to him. He said that he had seen in a dream that he was slaughtering him, Ismail, as a sacrifice to Allah, and asked his opinion about that dream. They both realized that this was an order from Allah. Ismail said without hesitation to do as he has been commanded, and said that, Allah willing, he, Prophet Ibrahim, shall find him very patient. They both submitted to the will of Allah. 37:102. 37:102. When he, Ismail, reached the age to work with him, Ibrahim said to him, O my son, I have seen a vision that I should offer you as a sacrifice, now tell me what your view is. He replied, O my father, do as you are commanded, you will find me, if Allah so wills, of the patient. Prophet Ibrahim laid his son, put his head on the ground and directed a sharp knife towards his neck. At this very moment, Allah called him, O Ibrahim, you have fulfilled the dream. Thus do we reward the good doers. A big sheep was sent down from the heaven to be slaughtered instead of Ismail, which Ibrahim did. 37:103. 37:103. And when they both submitted to Allah, and Ibrahim laid down his son upon his forehead for sacrifice. 37:104. 37:104. We called out to him, O Ibrahim, stop. 37:105. 37:105. You have fulfilled your dream. Thus do we reward the righteous. 37:106. 37:106. That was indeed a manifest test. 37:107. 37:107. And we redeemed him for a great sacrifice. 37:108. 37:108. And we left for him to be remembered among the later generations. This event is celebrated every year by all Muslims. It is Eid al-Adha when all Muslims slaughter the sacrificial sheep, goat or any other animal to recall that occasion. Raised the walls of Kaaba. Prophet Ibrahim and Ismail kept on calling people to worship Allah. At that time there was no place built for the worship of Allah. Prophet Ibrahim wished there could be such a place where people would be in peace and concentrate solely for the worship of Allah. His wish was answered when Allah ordered him to build the sacred house, the Kaaba. Prophet Ibrahim told this decision of Allah to Ismail, saying that Allah has given him, Prophet Ibrahim, an order to build a sacred place, house of Allah, for worship, and asked for his help to execute it. He readily agreed. Prophet Ibrahim selected the site as directed by Allah, near Zamzam Well, which had been the original site of Kaaba constructed by Prophet Adam. They went towards the place and started building the foundations of the Kaaba. Ismail brought the stones and Prophet Ibrahim built the walls, and when the walls became high, Ismail brought a large stone and put it in front of his father, who stood over it and carried on building, while Ismail was handing him the stones. While raising the walls of Kaaba, both of them went around the Kaaba, praying to Allah to accept their service from them. This stone which Prophet Ibrahim stepped on is called Maqam Ibrahim. 125. 125. Remember, when we made the house, the Kaaba, a center and sanctuary for mankind, and said, take the place of Ibrahim as a place of prayer. We entrusted Ibrahim and Ismail to cleanse our house for those who walk around it, who meditate in it, and who kneel and prostrate in prayers. 127. 127. When Ibrahim and Ismail raised the foundations of the house, they prayed to Allah, accept this from us, O Rabb, you are the one who hears all and knows all. 396. 396. Undoubtedly the first house for the worship of Allah ever built for mankind is the one at Makkah, a blessed site and a guidance for all the worlds. 397. 397. In it are clear signs in the station of Ibrahim. Whoever enters it is safe. Performance of Hajj pilgrimage to this house is a duty to Allah for those who can afford the journey to it. And the one who disobeys this commandment should know that Allah is self-sufficient, beyond the need of anyone from the worlds. 1435. 1435. Remember, when Ibrahim said, My Rabb, make this city a city of peace and save me and my sons from the worship of idols. 2226. 22:26 Remember, when we identified the site of the sacred house to Ibrahim, saying, Worship none besides me, sanctify my house for those worshippers who make tawaf, walking counterclockwise around it, and stand in prayer, bow, and prostrate themselves. 22:27 22:27 And make a proclamation of Hajj pilgrimage to mankind, they will come to you on foot and on lean camels from every distant quarter. The legacy of Prophet Ibrahim. 132 132 This was the legacy that Ibrahim left to his sons, and so did Yaqub, when he said, O my sons, Allah has chosen for you this deen, way of life, therefore die not unless you are Muslims. Prayers of Prophet Ibrahim. 126 126 And when Ibrahim prayed, My Rab, make this city, Makkah, a secure place and provide its people with plenty of food from fruits, those of them who believe in Allah and the last day. He, Allah, answered, As for those who do not, I shall also provide for them in this life, though in the hereafter I shall drag them to the torture of hellfire, and it is an evil destination indeed. 128 128 O Rab, make us both Muslims, submissive to you. And make our descendants a nation that will be Muslims, submissive to you. Teach us our rights of worship and forbear our shortcomings. Surely, you are the acceptor of repentance, the merciful. 129 129 O Rab, appoint from among them a Rasul who shall recite to them your revelations and teach them the book and the wisdom and sanctify them. Surely, you are the Almighty, the Wise. 1436 O Rab, they have indeed led many people astray. Therefore, only those who follow my ways belong to me, and I leave those who disobey me. Surely you are forgiving, merciful. 1438 Our Rab, certainly you know what we conceal and what we reveal. In fact, nothing in the earth or in heaven is hidden from Allah. 1440 O Rab, make me and my descendants establish Salah. Our Rab, accept my prayer. 1441 Our Rab, forgive me and my parents and all believers on the day when the accountability will take place. 2683 O my Rab, bestow wisdom upon me and admit me among the righteous. 2684 Grant me a power of conveying the truth to the later generations. 2685 Count me among the inheritors of the paradise of bliss. 2687 And do not hold me up in shame on the day when everybody will be raised back to life. 2688 The day when neither wealth nor sons will avail anyone. 2689 Accept him who will come before Allah with a pure heart. 2690 When paradise shall be brought in the sight of the righteous. 2691 And hell shall be spread open to the straying. 2692 And they will be asked, Where are those whom you worshipped? Angels giving good news of another son, Ishaq, and grandson Yaqub. As has been mentioned earlier, Sarah, the first wife of Prophet Ibrahim, seeing that her chance of having any child is slipping away, she offered her servant Hajjar as a wife to her husband, and prayed Allah to bless Hajjar and Ibrahim with a child. And so came Ismail, a baby boy born to Hajjar. How selfless and generous Sarah was. For her, the need to have an offspring who would carry the message after Ibrahim was greater than her pride. In recognition of her sincerity, 14 years later Allah rewarded Sarah with a son, Ishaq, in spite of her old age. 684 We gave him, Ibrahim, Ishaq, son, and Yaqub, grandson. 1169 Our messengers, angels, came to Ibrahim with good news. They said, Peace be upon you. He answered, Peace be upon you too, and hastened to entertain them with a roasted calf. 1170 But when he saw their hands were not extended towards it, he felt uneasy with them and started to be afraid of them. They said, Do not fear. We have been sent to the people of Lut. 1171 His wife, Sarah, who was standing there, laughed when we gave her good news of giving her a son, Ishaq, and after him, a grandson, Yaqub. 1172 She said, O wonder! An expression to indicate surprise, shall I bear a child now when I have become an old woman and my husband has become well advanced in age? This is indeed a strange thing. 1173 They said, Do you wonder at Allah's decree? May Allah's mercy and his blessings be upon you, O residents of the household. For he is indeed worthy of all praise, full of all glory. 1439. 1439 Praise be to Allah who has given me Ismail and Ishaq in my old age. Indeed my Rab hears all prayers. 1551. 1551 Tell them about the guests of Ibrahim. 1552. 1552 They entered upon them and said, Peace be upon you. But he replied, Surely we are afraid of you. 1553. 1553 They answered, Do not be afraid of us. We are giving good news of a son endowed with knowledge. 1554. 1554 He said, Are you giving me the good news of a son when I have become old? What kind of good news you are giving? 1555. 1555 They replied, We are giving you true good news. You should not be of those who despair. 1556. 1556 He said, Who would despair of the mercy of his Rab except the one who goes astray? 2172. 2172 We bestowed on him Ishaq, son, and Yaqub, grandson, as an additional gift. And we made each of them a righteous man. 2927. 2927 We gave him, Ibrahim, Ishaq, son, and Yaqub, grandson, and placed the prophethood and the book in his progeny, and we gave him his reward in this life, and in the hereafter he will surely be among the righteous. 7. 3112. 37. 112 We gave him, Ibrahim, the good news of Ishaq, son, a prophet, one of the righteous. 37. 113. 37. 113 We blessed him, Ibrahim, and Ishaq. Among their progeny there are some who are righteous and some who are clearly wrongdoers to their own souls. 38:45. 38:45 And mention our devotees Ibrahim, Ishaq and Yaqub. Men of power and vision. 51:24. 51:24 Have you heard the story of Ibrahim's honored guests? 51:25. 51:25 When they came to him and said, Peace be upon you. Peace be upon you also. He answered, and seeing that they were strangers, 51:26. 51:26 He went quietly to his family, brought a roasted calf. 51:27. 51:27 And placed it before them saying, Will you do not eat? 51:28. 51:28 When he saw them not eating, he became afraid of them. They said, Have no fear, and they gave him good news of a son endowed with knowledge. 51:29. 51:29 Hearing this, his wife came forward, with astonishment she smote her forehead and said, A son to a barren old woman. 51:30. 51:30 They replied, It will happen so, said your Rab, surely he is the wise, the knowledgeable. Prophet Ibrahim was given a scripture like the scripture of Prophet Musa, 87:18. 87:18 Surely, the same was said in the earlier scriptures. 87:19. 87:19 The scriptures of Ibrahim and Musa. Conclusion. This is the story of Prophet Ibrahim as mentioned in Quran. Prophet Ibrahim devoted all his life calling others to the true religion, Islam. Alone he stood against his father, against his people, and even against the mighty king of Babylon, and never flinched. Yet his method was always to gradually persuade them by bringing irrefutable proofs that most often embarrassed those who refused to accept the truth. For such people who do not accept any guidance, Allah said, Anyone whom Allah leaves to stray, there is none to guide him. 7. 186, 13, 33, 39, 23, 39, 36, 40, 33, and more.